welcome to continued study of Partimento, a pedagogic method developed in the 17th to 18th century in Naples, Italy. Our focus today is a piece of music written by Carcassi. Carcassi wrote guitar method books. He was a very accomplished guitarist and musician. We are probably most familiar with his Etude. Some of these pieces also indicate that he understood Partimento, the rules and the method to be able to harmonize melodies spontaneously and thus producing improvisation. This particular piece has combined elements that are similar to what we were talking about in the previous two classes, the rule of thirds and sixths. So we're going to begin by just doing a little bit of an analysis of the first 8 bars of this piece. Okay, let's take a closer look. Last, when we were talking about Partimento, we did a short sequence and so forth. That sequence was built on 2 intervals. One, the third. So the note E is our bass note, and the third is the first note for the second voice. And the next note after that, our goal, is the note C. Altogether, that makes this chord. And in our example, we learned that we could fill in the notes in between and create a second melody. That example actually comes from a piece written by John Dowland. So, in looking at this piece, the Carcassi's Study in C, we have a piece that's in 2-voice counterpoint. And in fact, we'll learn that is in invertible counterpoint when we examine the B section next time. But today's focus is just the first 8 bars. And what I want to bring your attention to in the first measure is how Carcassi starts this. He starts it on the note C, and then the next voice comes in a third higher. And the goal of that line is going to bring us to the note A. So you can see there's a little bit of a similarity between the sequence that I started off with and the beginning of Carcassi's Study in C. Let's listen again to the example by John Dowland. And now Carcassi. Looking at the first 4 bars of Carcassi's study, we have the notes C and E on beat 1, that's a 10th, and A and C on beat 3, that's a 3rd, and then D and F on the second measure, beat 1, that's a 10th, and measure 3 begins with B and D, again, interval of a 10th, and then is followed by G and B, an interval of a 3rd. And then it ends with the interval of a 6th on the 4th bar. In between, we have notes that help you connect this to what we did before. We have C and E, and then we have E starting the phrase, going up to A. And then it's going to go the opposite direction. Yeah? So the beginning. In contrapuntal music, it's the linear line of the individual voices that provide the material for the harmonic framework of the piece. So, in different words, the melody lines in relationship to each other suggest chords, like a C chord, an A minor chord, a D minor chord, and a G7 chord, all suggested in the first phrase, not by block chords like that, but by the individual movement of the voices. C and E. Up to there, we've got C, E, and G, which is a C chord, but it's been stretched out. The next one, A and C, A minor chord, A, C, E. Next one, D and F. The next one, measure 3, G and B, and D. And then C and E again, and G. Yeah. In the second phrase, Carcassi explores some key changes. He starts us in the key of C, and in fact, pretty much the same manner he began the piece, but in the very first measure of the first phrase, he fluctuates between an A and a G sharp, and then an A and a G natural, and then he goes to F sharp and D. So it's a little bit as if we're not too sure what key we're in. In the beginning, kind of like A minor, and then he's going to go to D major, and then he's going to go to G. A minor to D major to G. But if we were in the key of G, those of you who know music theory, that'd be like a 2-5-1 progression in the key of G. So let's listen one more time to how it begins and just do the first 2 bars of the second phrase. Now he's going to go to D sharp. That sounds like E minor there. So let's try that again. So if we examine the bass line in that part, it's really quite nice. You hear so the A to the G sharp, we feel like we're in A minor, and then the D chord, which is suggested with the 6th. This interval between F sharp and D is a 6th, a minor 6th. And then to G, D sharp, we're moving to E minor, B to C, and D. Now I'm going to play these 2 notes together. At the very end, what I played was an A and an F sharp, which is like a 6th, to G and G, following the rule of the octave. Of the 6th, the voice is moving in contrary motion, ending up in an octave. This concludes our analysis of Carcassi's study in C, and it relates, of course, to the study of Partimento, and in this particular case, 2-voice counterpoint, 2 melodies being sustained, one moving at half-note pace, and the other one moving at 8th-note pace. There are lots of things that you can draw from this, and you can try to incorporate in your practice. No reason to just practice scales and see how fast you can go. See how clearly you can think. See if you can actually tie 2 notes together, separate them a little bit, bring them together, separate them, tenths and thirds, and then find a vehicle in the other voice to get to that interval that may be 6 notes above or 6 notes below. Okay, that's your challenge this week. Have a great week of practice. Until next time.